Scripted game moments are hardwired and you can't do anything about them, right? Well, maybe not. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 scripted game moments you can actually change. Let's start with a really basic one at number 10. In Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, one of the more amusing things about it is that it actually sometimes changes things depending on if you've made CJ skinny or fat. Random NPCs commenting on your appearance is one thing, but on some rare occasions, your body shape actually has an effect on certain missions. Take the mission Green Goo, for example. The mission where the Truth wants you to steal a jar of alien goo from a train using a jetpack. Normally, the mission cutscene plays out how you'd expect. The Truth shows up, gives you your objective, you go do the mission. But if you start the mission while overweight, the Truth will yell at you for being too fat to do the mission and tells you to come back after you've lost a few pounds.
Around. Been eating a lot lately, Carl? Not getting enough exercise?
Yeah, I guess.
Apparently, the green goo isn't that important. At number 9, in Breath of the Wild, it's easy to assume that you're required to meet Sidon before you could go to Zora's domain in Breath of the Wild, because you find him on the main bridge into the area that happens to be constantly raining, and it makes any attempt to bypass him tricky, but it's actually not the case. With some maneuvering, it's possible to avoid talking to him at all, and proceed with heading right into Zora's domain. The interesting thing about this is it actually does change the cutscene when you arrive. Normally, when you get to the throne room, Sidon recognizes you and is happy to see you, but if you avoid him, then the whole scene plays out differently, with him being a lot more suspicious of you at first.
And who might you be? The Zora King is not accepting visitors at this time. I shall escort you out. Pardon my manners, but are you a Hylian?
It totally changes the nature of the cutscene because he didn't meet you at the bridge. It's something new players will probably never see, but the fact they took the time to adjust the cutscene so that it makes sense based off what the player did, I mean, that's great. It's also a good example of how much more reactive Breath of the Wild is to every other Zelda game. At number 8, in Skyrim, the Civil War questline. You know it. You maybe hate it. I don't know. But one thing everyone knows is that once you join a side, you are completely locked in, right? Are you locked in? Yeah, there's actually a pretty surprising little twist to things in Skyrim where the first mission you get after joining either the Stormcloaks or the Imperial Legion is to find this thing called the Jagged Crown and bring it back. Now, there's nothing in the game that makes this obvious, but it's actually possible to ignore the quest objective and take it to the enemy leader. And if you do it, it's actually possible to switch sides and join them. There is nothing that tells you this is possible, but it is. And it's a pretty surprising little secret, at least to us here at gameranx. Most of the time in Skyrim, all you can really do is follow quest objectives. There's not really a lot of reactive stuff like this where you can sort of modify what's happening. So when something like this pops up, it's a little surprising, honestly. It's also cool, and I hope that both in Starfield and the next time we visit the world of the Elder Scrolls, we see more stuff like this.
All right, I believe you. You aren't the first to turn away from the Empire in disgust. But remember, you're one of us now, forever.
At number 7, in Cyberpunk 2077, there's a lot of choices you can make. In fact, actually a lot more than it seems like you can make. And the game changes and reacts to your choices in ways that are often not obvious. Like in the mission Play It Safe, when you're hiding out with Takemura after the big mission, the one where you infiltrate Hanako's float during the parade. How this normally plays out is that the place gets raided and Takemura is toast. It seems like there's nothing you can really do about it, but that's not actually true. You actually can go back and rescue him, which at the moment really doesn't seem possible at all. It seems so super unlikely, but all you have to do is find a kind of secret path back to him and take out the guards surrounding him. The interesting thing about this is that the game pretty much explicitly says to you, you can't save Takemura.
Takemura! Can't leave him back there!
Forget him, guy's toast. Unless you want to wind up like him.
This is a lie, though. Do not listen to it. If you do manage to save Takemura, he actually survives the mission and stays in contact with you for the rest of the game. Now, he doesn't make any major appearances as far as I can tell, but just the fact that he still shows up at all is surprising. At this point, obviously, we all know Cyberpunk has its fair share of problems, but this moment is legitimately cool and very surprising. And number 6 is Batman Arkham Knight. Now, this is a surprisingly reactive game in a lot of ways, but one little twist I never actually knew about can be found at the very start. During the prologue, where you're playing as a cop in first person, you know, the part that ends with everybody at the dinner getting gassed with the fear toxin, what you're supposed to do is shoot the monsters that are attacking you. Like, this is the very start of the game, and I always assume that it doesn't matter what you do here, but it actually can have a significant effect on the officer when you find him later in the GCPD building. It's one of those situations where you think it's scripted, so even though it's obvious that you're getting affected by the fear gas, I just never really thought what you did would make a difference, but it actually really does. If you shoot at him like you're supposed to, when you meet the officer later, he's all messed up, but if you don't shoot during this sequence at all, when you meet this guy later, he's actually in pretty good shape. The game even accounts for if you shot but didn't hit anything.
God knows how we got out without shooting anyone. The people in that diner tore each other apart.
Is it just me? The toxins don't seem to be wearing off.
I hope you're wrong. He's going through hell in there.
Like, it's that reactive. It's really cool too, because it maintains a consistency in this character that seems not important, but it actually really adds to the immersion, in my opinion. It really contributes to the illusion that it is a living, breathing world with consequences for actions. And number 5 is Fallout 3, another game that gives you tons of choices, but they're usually pretty obvious. Like, you got a dialogue option that makes it clear what you're doing, or a quest objective to make sure you know you have a choice or not. Usually that's how things go, but sometimes you get something like a quest or an event or whatever in the game that doesn't just hint you can do something else. Like during the Power of the Atom quest. After taking the quest, you're given the option of reporting Mr. Burke to Sheriff Lucas Sims. What always happens is that Lucas confronts Burke in the bar, then Burke pulls a pistol and kills Lucas instantly, and it makes it seem like there's nothing you can really do to stop him. It's not true though. The game doesn't tell you this, but if you pull a gun and take out Burke right as he draws his, it's possible to kill him before he kills Lucas. What makes this so difficult is the only way to resolve this without the sheriff getting mad at you is to shoot Burke just as he takes out his pistol. If you shoot him before that, the sheriff gets angry for getting in his way. So you really only have a split second to pull this off, but if you do, this scripted moment can play out extremely differently. At number 4 is Transformers Fall of Cybertron, and it's an intentionally goofy one. During the mission Starscream's Betrayal, there's a hidden Easter egg where you can find a little crown to wear that's a callback to the original Transformers movie. It's hidden in an out-of-way little alcove that's easy to pass up on, but if you get it, he'll actually wear the stupid thing for the rest of the mission. The Easter egg by itself isn't a scripted moment or anything. It doesn't really change what happens right then, but finding it does noticeably change a later cutscene. At the end of the level, Grimlock knocks Starscream out, but if he's wearing the crown, then the cutscene plays out a little differently. And the way it plays out is the crown actually gets knocked off his head after he gets thrown, and Grimlock smashes the crown flat under his robot boots.
Nothing feels right.
It's another small thing, but the fact they actually incorporated it into this cutscene, it's a really fun little detail. And number 3 is Mass Effect. In most games, when you recruit a character, it doesn't really matter. Sure, there's a lot of games out there where there are time restrictions for adding certain characters to your team, but it's pretty rare a game will actually recognize that you left a character waiting. That's what makes this moment stand out so much. One of the main objectives in Mass Effect is to find Liara, an Asari scientist who has some important knowledge that both you and the bad guy want. Most people playing the game will want to find her as early as possible, as she is both an actual party member and a potential romance in the game, but you don't actually have to get her at all. In fact, you can wait around until basically the end of the game to recruit her if you want. You can even do the Vermeer mission where you first find out about the Reaper threat without recruiting her. Waiting that long makes it so when you finally go and rescue her, she thinks you're a hallucination and that she's actually gone mad from being trapped underground for so long.
You're oddly lucid for a hallucination. They don't usually claim to be real.
To add insult to injury, when you finally do get her back to the ship, you can tell her that all the research was pointless, as you discovered more about the Protheans in a few days than she's managed to find in decades. RPGs rarely ever acknowledge the passage of time, so it's kind of funny BioWare gave the extra effort here. And number 2 is Deltarune. Most games have pretty dry tutorials that don't deviate a whole lot from what they want you to do, but Deltarune's a little different. At the start of the game, there's a tutorial section where the character Walsey teaches you the basics of combat. Pretty standard RPG stuff, and it seems like you're pretty much stuck doing what the game wants, you know, just like basically every other tutorial out there. But if you keep selecting the fight option, but keep intentionally missing when you're supposed to be attacking, your trainer will get increasingly confused. The thing is, it only works if you're not just missing the attack command. You have to literally not press anything over and over again. Like, that's what sets him off. Eventually, he gets so flustered by your screwing around that he just moves on to a different training session. But there's nothing stopping you from just selecting fight again and intentionally missing again, and that's when he just stops the training completely. It's a thing most players never see because we've all been trained to just mash through tutorials as quickly as possible, but it's a kind of amusing little interaction in a scene that would be totally scripted in most games. And finally, at number 1, in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, this is a weird one. At the end of the original Modern Warfare, your team attempts to escape from the missile base on a truck while being chased by an enemy helicopter. The whole sequence is always supposed to play out the same way, with your truck crashing and a desperate final stand. That's not the only way things can go down, though. If you cheat and manage to hit the helicopter chasing you, which is normally pretty much impossible, then some weird stuff happens at the end. During the scene where the main bad guy executes one of your guys, one random SAS soldier will get up and take all your enemies out. Why this happens, we don't really have any idea, but there it is. Everything else plays out pretty much the same, including the part where you get a gun and slow-mo shoot the enemies. But this time, there's just nobody left. This one's perhaps more of a bug, maybe not something that was intentionally put in the game, but it's an unusual twist on things that had to be mentioned in this list. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.